Welcome to Season 4, Episode 18 of Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. I'm your host, Angela Watson, and I'm here to speak life, encouragement, and truth into the minds and hearts of educators and get you energized for the week ahead. Today, I'm going to share some thoughts on how to create change in your life and why you don't have to rely on willpower. Visit truthforteachers.com to get the transcript, links to recommended resources, and to share your thoughts on the show. So here we are at the Season 4 wrap-up already. I run 2 seasons of Truth for Teachers a year, so this means we're coming up on the podcast's 2-year anniversary. In case you're wondering why I structure it this way, it's because I wanted to keep doing this podcast for a long time, and I knew that in order for it to be sustainable, I would need to give myself breaks from it. The time between seasons allows me to just focus on other projects, and it also tends to give me a renewed passion for the podcast when it's time to start recording again. Truth for Teachers has grown to 50,000 downloads a month, which is sort of crazy if you think about it. You may have noticed a small shift in the direction of the podcast this season, and you'll see that continue in February when we begin Season 5. I spent the first 3 seasons mostly just talking from me to you, but I'm finding lately that I'm enjoying talking to other people too. I really like reaching out to people that I find fascinating and bringing them on the show as my guest and letting you listen in on the conversation. I feel like in some ways I have stretched the bounds of what I personally am an expert on, and I want to bring in people who are experts on other things. I want to continue tackling big issues, not only in education, but beyond. We have some really serious things happening in our country right now that are having a tremendous impact on schools. And I want to explore those issues in depth so that you feel better prepared to understand and support your students. There's only so much that I personally can offer advice on, and I think that bringing in more outside voices is a really good thing. So if you would like to be interviewed for the podcast, or if you have a recommendation of someone that you would like to hear me talk with, you can make your suggestion at truthforteachers.com. And you can also suggest podcast topics there. If there's something that you're struggling with that you would like to see me address, you can pop on over to truthforteachers.com and let me know. In Season 5, I plan to continue doing lots of solo episodes, but I'm going to be mixing them in with interviews with experts. And I also want to bring in real classroom teachers to talk about their experiences and to share what's happening in schools across the country and across the world. I've shared a lot with you about classroom organization, leadership, growth mindset, positive outlook, stress management, all kinds of important topics. And now I want to bring you teachers who have taken that advice and made it a reality in their lives. I'm going to be interviewing teachers who were feeling burned out but turned things around. I'll be interviewing teachers who were stuck in a rut but try new strategies and completely transform the way their classrooms run. You're going to hear what teachers are doing with blended learning and flexible classroom seating. You're going to hear an awesome interview that I'm doing with a teacher who was on the verge of quitting her job and 2 years later was awarded Teacher of the Year in her state. There are so many inspiring teachers out there doing amazing things, and I want to bring those stories to you as inspiration and also to help you get those same results in your classroom. So Season 5 will be back in February, and I want to leave you with some powerful ideas for the weeks ahead. Right after the holidays tends to be a time when everyone's thinking about resolutions and new habits, getting healthier, making better choices, all the stuff that we say we're going to do every single year. And most of the time, this just turns out to be wishful thinking. We don't stick with it. We just return right back to these bad habits, these tendencies to waste time and procrastinate, to be lazier than we want to be, or do things that we know are destroying our bodies or our relationships. We have all these different habits that we want to change. And generally, the reason why we don't maintain the change is because we think that it's a battle of willpower. We think it's just too hard to stop. I can't say no. I just don't want to get up and do that right now. We're relying too much on willpower, and we're not relying enough on habits and changing our environment. Once you understand the power of habit, I think you'll find that creating change is a lot easier than you think. Let's start with the mistaken idea that it takes 21 days to form a habit. That is completely untrue in most cases, and it has been debunked by many, many studies. The truth is that you can form new habits really in just a day or two. I'll give you an example. My husband loves the Haagen-Dazs caramel cone ice cream. And I very rarely buy it because in Brooklyn, where we live, it's $5.99 for a tiny little pint, and that just seems ridiculous to me. However, the grocery store had them on sale 2 for $5 over the summer, so I got 2, one for him, one for me. I dug into the pint of Haagen-Dazs that night after dinner, and it was so good, let me tell you. I ate close to half of it, and then I put the rest back in the freezer. And then a funny thing happened. The next night, after dinner, I got this insane craving for Haagen-Dazs. Back to the freezer I went, polished off the rest of the pint. I probably don't need to tell you that the next day, I was already thinking about that Haagen-Dazs in the afternoon, and I knew I was out of it. So back to the store I went before the sale ended, and I got 2 more pints. After dinner, more Haagen-Dazs. By the 4th night in a row of this, I knew I should probably take a look at the nutrition label, since eating ice cream after dinner had clearly become a daily habit. Well, I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't know it was going to be that bad. I did not want to continue eating Haagen-Dazs every night after dinner for the rest of my life, but that had become my routine. So here's what I did, or rather what I didn't do. I didn't try to overcome the urge to eat ice cream after dinner through sheer willpower. I find willpower to be highly overrated. We only have a set amount of it as a human being, and it deteriorates throughout the day the more that we use our willpower. That's why so many of us completely fall off our diets in the evenings, or slip back into bad social media habits, or don't go to bed on time, or why we snap at our students or our family members at the end of the day after being patient for so long. We've been exercising self-control in so many areas of our lives all day long, and frankly, we just get tired. We're out of willpower. We give into whatever behavior provides a release or just lets us relax and feel good. So I wasn't going to depend on willpower to keep me from craving Haagen-Dazs. I was going to focus on habits. Habits are much easier to change, and they're much more effective. I really like the taste of Greek yogurt, and it has sort of the same mouthfeel and satisfying texture as ice cream. Now, obviously, if you really want ice cream rather than Greek yogurt, Greek yogurt's not going to be the same thing. You should probably just have the ice cream. But remember, I didn't really want the ice cream. It had just become a habit. Ice cream was something that I had conditioned my body to expect in the evenings. So I went to the store and I checked out my options. Turns out there's this new kind that has a ton of protein and fiber in it, and it doesn't have a lot of sugar, so it's actually pretty healthy. It's called 000 by Ecos, if you're wondering. And also, if you're wondering if any of these brands that I'm mentioning are sponsors of the podcast, the answer is no. I'm not being compensated in any way to mention them. I'm just being very specific in order to help the example stick in your mind. So I'm looking at this Greek yogurt's nutritional label, and I realized that creating a daily habit of eating this would actually be a good thing because of all the protein and fiber. So I bought a couple of them, took them home. That night after dinner, I was actually not thinking about the Haagen-Dazs, but I was thinking about the Greek yogurt. And that's because I'd spent time considering this new habit and thinking about how much better I would feel when I changed my habit. And I was actually looking forward to the yogurt. Turns out it was good. It was really good. The next night, Greek yogurt again. Loved it. Night after that, not gonna lie, the ice cream crossed my mind. The novelty of my new habit had worn off, but I had already done that new habit now 2 days in a row. So it wasn't a huge struggle to reach for the yogurt instead. And that's what I kept doing, night after night. If I didn't feel like having yogurt, I'd make myself a cup of herbal tea, the really good kind from Tivana that feels like a luxury in a similar way that ice cream does. And so that's what I do now in the evenings. Almost every evening, I have either Greek yogurt or I have tea. And I really don't think about the ice cream anymore. I buy it for my husband when it's on sale, but I've been practicing this new habit for a few months now, and I really haven't wanted the ice cream at all during that time, even when it's in our house. You see, I change my body and my mind's natural default reaction. At the end of the day, when I'm tired and I'm out of willpower, I don't have to make a decision about what to eat or not eat, or restrain myself from having something because I want it. My body now craves the yogurt or the tea. That's all it's thinking about because that's all I've given it. If I go out to dinner with friends or I switch up my routine, I might have dessert, But that doesn't make me want dessert when I'm at home, because this is about routines and habitual responses. My body knows at home after dinner, it's the couch, TV or Netflix, and tea. That's what it wants. I have done this kind of intentional habit changing in all sorts of aspects of my life. I found myself sitting down to be on the computer too much. So I bought this little folding stand on Amazon that goes on a desk, and it converts it into a makeshift standing desk. And after just one day of using this standing desk, I found my body wanting to stand there the second day and the third day. Now that's my habit. I'm standing up right now as I'm recording this. I've also changed my habits around social media. Do you remember the intentional connectivity challenge that I ran back in May? It was just 3 simple habits that can keep you from feeling controlled by your phone and that compulsive need to check social media anytime you feel bored for 3 seconds. Since doing the intentional connectivity challenge, I no longer reach for a device when I'm sitting at a stoplight or waiting in the doctor's office. I've conditioned my mind to want to be present in the moment instead of looking for a distraction or constant simulation. So why am I sharing all this with you? What does this have to do with teaching? Well, teachers in general tend to struggle with feeling tired and overwhelmed, and a lot of those negative experiences can be changed through simple habit shifting. If you know that you need to get more rest, or eat better, or exercise more, get off social media, get fresh air, stop working after a certain point in the day, if you know you need to do any of those things, but you're not doing them, it's not necessarily because you lack willpower. Attributing your daily lifestyle to willpower or a lack thereof is pretty unempowering. You're already not doing what you know you should be. And now you feel like a failure because you don't have the mental or physical strength to make yourself stop those bad habits. So my advice is don't make yourself stop. Don't rely on willpower when you've already exhausted all of it while trying to hold a classroom together for 7 hours. Instead, change your habits. Look for ways to make your default reaction a healthy, productive choice so that you gravitate toward it naturally. That is my hope for every person listening to this, that you would pick one aspect of your life that's not really working as well as you want it to, but you haven't been able to change simply because you're tired and you don't have the time or energy to figure out a better way and stick with it. I encourage you to create one new habit related to that aspect of your life. Just one. And I'm betting that after just a couple days of that new habit, you will find it comes naturally, just like I did. Now, here's a secret to making your new habit stick. Every time you are tempted to go back to your old way of doing things, remind yourself that this is not about what you eat, or how much you sleep, or how you manage your time. This is about creating habits. And each time you go back to that old habit, you are creating those neural pathways. You're creating muscle memory that's going to make you want to default back to that habit again in the future. So breaking the habit just this once won't hurt you in the sense that it will wreak havoc in that whole area of your life and just destroy your diet or your sleep forever. Breaking the habit just this once will wreak havoc on your habits. And that's what you want to protect at all costs. I didn't avoid the ice cream for those first 2 weeks or so because eating it one night would cause me to gain weight or harm my health. I avoided it because it would derail my new positive habit. That's what I cared about. I knew if I went back to ice cream just one night, then the next night, my body would be confused. Are we going for the ice cream or the yogurt? And then I'd have to exercise willpower if I wanted to make the right choice. I hate exercising willpower. It's hard. It's not very fun. I want to reserve most of my self-control for spiritual discipline and treating my family members how they deserve to be treated, and putting in really focused work time so that I can create stuff that supports teachers. Just those 3 things requires a lot of willpower and a lot of self-control. So, of course, they're not even the only elements of my life that are important. That makes it really hard. I can't afford to waste precious willpower on some stupid ice cream. I want to default naturally to the best option. And so that's how I avoided slipping back into old habits. That's the mentality you want to have when you're tempted to do something that doesn't move your life in the direction you want. Don't analyze whether it will hurt to do that thing just this one time. Analyze how it will impact your habits. Recognize how altering your habits for even just a day or two can have long-term consequences that will require willpower to overcome. The power of habit is part of the reason why the 40-hour Teacher Workweek Club has been so successful for so many teachers. If you haven't heard of it before, the club is essentially professional development on productivity. It's a 1-year program and it helps you streamline your work and focus on what really matters. Let me tell you really briefly about how the club can be helpful if you want support in choosing better habits and in maintaining your habits over time. I created the club because I wanted to help teachers create new productivity habits, new default behaviors, from planning out their weeks ahead of time to prioritizing tasks to always looking for ways to streamline their workload and eliminate, automate, delegate things. The idea is to stop having to make all of these choices every day because teaching is filled with enough choices. It's draining, and it requires self-control to make the right choices. You want to create new lifelong habits so that productive ways of being are the natural and the default. And what we found is that managing your time is a lot like managing your weight. Just because you know vaguely what to do doesn't mean you're going to actually follow through. So I've set up the club to help you make permanent lifestyle changes by creating new habits. It gives you structure, it gives you support, and it gives you accountability. There's 2 different types of people that the club is designed to help. So see if either one of these sounds like you. The club's designed to help those who are, 1, overwhelmed by the complex job of teaching. They just have no idea where to start organizing and prioritizing, just completely overwhelmed. And the other type of person is a person who basically knows what to do, but just keeps slipping into bad habits, keeps getting bogged down by district demands, just feeling like you can never, ever get ahead. If this were a weight loss program, people in the first group would have the equivalent of like 50 or more pounds to lose. People in the second group, well, they'd be the ones who were struggling to shed those last 15 pounds that they've been gaining and losing for years. So some of them could just simply do the things they know to do and figure out a system on their own and hold themselves accountable to it. But others are tired of trying to figure out a workable system and reinvent the wheel. And that's because knowing what to do is only half the battle. You have to know how to do it. And the how has to make sense and be realistic for your lifestyle. It has to be something that you can maintain for years to come. It has to be about developing a new mindset, a new perspective on teaching and life, and new habits. And that's what the 40-hour Teacher Workweek Club is designed to do. If you want a community of educators that you can talk to about your new habits and bounce ideas off of each other, and if you'd like a step-by-step program that teaches you how to create more productive, healthy habits at home and in the classroom, if that's what you're looking for, you may want to think about joining us. Every single week you get ideas, encouragement, and strategies, and you get them in both PDF form and audio podcast form. So if you're already in the habit of listening to Truth for Teachers each week, it will be super easy for you to keep up with the material and learn new ways to simplify and streamline. Just listen to the audio each week. There's also hundreds of dollars worth of printable forms and resources included that will make things a lot easier for you. And you can even get a PD certificate at the end of the year, which you can submit to your district and see if they will accept for continuing education credits. We're going to be opening up the club to new members again the day after Christmas. So the open enrollment period is going to be December 26th to January 4th. And then that's it until summer. It's only open to members twice a year. So if you join us in January, I can show you how to trim hours off your work week as soon as you get back to school after winter break. And that is a promise. There's actually a 30-day money-back guarantee period. So if you don't find that the club is helping you create new habits and enabling you to work fewer hours by the end of January, you can cancel and I will give you all of your money back. Now, I'm also going to be offering a free webinar at the end of December. And the webinar is going to teach you how to trim 3 hours off your work week right away. It's going to be a live masterclass. It's totally online. You don't have to go anywhere. And I'm going to be teaching for almost a full hour for free. And this is a great opportunity to learn the strategies that club members know and to get a feel for whether those strategies are going to work for you. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to show you sneak peeks into the club so that you can see exactly what members get and what the focuses are each month and what are the results that you can expect. So if you're curious about the club, but you're not quite sure, please come join us for the free training. I have spent many, many hours designing this training, so you will walk away with really life-changing tips and strategies, regardless of whether you actually decide to join the club afterwards. This free training can really be a game changer for you. So to recap, the free webinar is coming up at the end of December. It's going to be offered also a couple of times during the open enrollment period for the club. That open enrollment period is December 26th to January 4th. So if you want to learn more, you can find out more about the club and you can be notified about the webinar dates and times. Just sign up to get those notifications. I'll let you know about each one and when you can sign up. You just go to 40htw.com. So that's 40htw, as in 40-hour teacher work week, 40htw.com, and that's where you can sign up to learn more. The cool thing about watching the webinar now and joining the club with the January 2017 cohort is that you get to practice putting strong habits in place now. That way you don't have to wait until next school year. Back to school season will be a really easy, smooth transition for you in the fall because you will have already had so many months practicing these new habits. So my challenge to you in the weeks to come before Season 5 of Truth for Teachers resumes in February is to create one new habit related to an aspect of your life where you're currently trying to rely on willpower to make the healthiest, most productive decisions. I want you to replace that bad habit with a better habit. Just that one thing, and watch how quickly that new habit becomes your default. And then you can just stack another good habit right on top of it. You keep doing that. You keep trusting that small changes add up to big results. It's baby steps. It's small changes. It's a little habits that you make a regular part of your daily life. And before you know it, you've created massive change. So that's your takeaway truth for the week ahead. Small changes in your habits add up to big results. You can do this, and if you want support, you can find it in the club. Have a wonderful week, and remember that it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.